Hello everybody, look where I am at. I'm back at Jerry's house in Jupiter, Florida, and we're going to take a look around his yard today. He has over an acre of tropical fruit trees, and it's going to be great. So thanks for having us back out.
My pleasure.
All righty. Welcome to Fruitful Trees. I love going and revisiting places I visited before to get an update to see how everything is. Today we're going to visit our friend Jerry in Jupiter, Florida, and he had an amazing yard. Many of you loved it. You had many questions for him. Well, we're back here. It's about a year later, with an update on the things he had then and new things that he has now and some things he got rid of. This is going to be great. Jerry's from New York as well, so we're going to have a great time with him today, and here we go. Everybody, here we are. We're back at Jerry's place. We were here a while ago. I'll put a link to that below. So, Jerry, how you been?
I've been great.
Good. You want to give an update on the trees
Sure.
since we were last here about a year ago?
These are the smallest trees on my property. This is kind of the newest addition that I added this area here. So, you know, things are just starting to happen here. I'll give you a quick buzz through.
So since we were last here, have you come up with some new conclusions or some new things, ideas about the trees that you were planting in this area?
No, these guys pretty much the same. The only other thing I did was there's an Indian jujube.
Nice.
Which was sending up two different varieties from the same tree. And as it turns out, the one that coming out of the rootstock was with thorns.
Yeah.
Much more vigorous. And it was 3 times the size. But I had to cut it down to the ground, and then the other side, which is seedless, is now taking over, which is what I wanted.
It means almost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This little puppy's a new guy. I know you're a big jackfruit fan. This is a J31.
Okay. J31.
Yeah, I picked that up at the Tropical Fruit Show.
Yes.
At the fairgrounds. This is a Maria Black.
Maria Black. Okay. Avocado.
Avocado hasn't fruited yet. Ponderosa lemon.
Ponderosa lemon. Camito. What kind of Camito is this?
That's the green one. I have a purple one in the back.
Okay.
Still young, hasn't fruited yet.
And none of his things are on water here. They're not.
No.
Okay.
I only water with a hose when I first plant the stuff until it takes into the ground, maybe 2 or 3 months, and then I see it's going to be okay. That's it with the watering.
So what's this? A banana you put here?
This is a dwarf Cavendish, a plain ordinary banana. I just chopped off and harvested, so this is just pups coming up.
Okay, and you got a big tree right behind you there.
That is a black sapote.
Black sapote. That tree grows massive.
The variety is Ella.
Okay.
And it's been fruiting very poorly. I got a couple fruit out of it, not to write home about.
Okay, and here's the jujube.
Here it's going to go.
Here's the jujube he was talking about.
This is the jujube, which if you look, is just the beginning of the season. Yeah, so it's happening. So you can see it's starting to flower.
Now, you can cut this back every year because it'll grow really tall.
Very vigorous. You can whack the crap out of it.
Yes.
And it'll be fine.
All right, what's this behind you right here?
This is a lemon Cattleya guava. Delicious fruit, and no, they don't get worms. The only ones I've had luck with without worms.
Good.
And then coming around this way. That's a Ooh La La avocado.
All righty.
And that's a red hybrid Japoticaba.
Which one? That one?
This one right
there.
That
one, yeah.
That's a red. This is Zill Black Suriname cherry.
Okay.
Hasn't fruited yet, but I think this year should do it. It's big enough. These are some more red Japoticabas. Slow growing. Not doing great here, but we'll see. We'll see how they take off.
Okay.
This little puppy is the Silas Wood Sapodilla. I think on the last video I talked about how this is the slowest growing tree I have.
Yes.
The sleep, creep, and leap. It's finally this year woken up, and as you can see, it's got fruit on it.
I actually went to Homestead, and I went to the house where they have the original tree.
Silas Wood's house.
Yes. Yes. I have one in a pot, and it also has fruit on it, just like that.
It's got fruit on it. I'm not really good at picking them ripe, and the squirrels somehow managed to beat me to it. So there's another crop coming up.
Yes, all right.
Hopefully I will pick them a little bit earlier. This is just a plain sugar apple from one of my seedlings. And another avocado variety that I recently put in over here.
So
This is Oro Negro,
oh, excellent. Wonderful.
which my sister-in-law has over at her house, like half a mile from here.
Yeah.
It does very well. African tree spinach. You'll see a lot of that.
Okay.
And another, this one is a Sabra Chipotacaba.
All right.
This is a Superior Lemon Drop Mangosteen,
Okay.
not the original one. They call it Superior because it's supposed to have a larger fruit and a little nipple and a little bit thinner skin and a higher ratio of pulp to seed. Time will tell. That's a cherry of the Rio Grande, the baby. This is just a seedling loquat from one of my trees. I'm experimenting with a couple of different varieties. Plus a papaya. This is a rare tree that's finally taken off. Another one of those sleep, creep, and leap. Ella Santal.
Okay, nice.
I don't know what
Wow.
they taste like because I've never had one.
No, that one looks good.
It's
So
supposed to be a delicious fruit from the Philippines.
now everybody look at here's how close he has his trees. And we'll see what happens. That's why I come up here for an update. We'll see,
Yeah.
because traditionally they're way too close and
Yeah.
they're not getting water, but they're growing nice. And the ones
And
that
what
take
you'll
off
see-
will be fine, and the ones that don't, we'll figure
I
out.
think we talked a little bit about the communication between the trees, and that I believe that there's mycorrhiza, which are fungal bodies that attach themselves to the root. And they are the ones that actually absorb. Plants cannot absorb fertilizer and minerals from the ground. People think they do, they're adding it. They don't. The bacteria and the mycorrhiza and the fungus breaks it down, and it actually binds with the tree roots. So when you pull those roots, you see the little white stringy things, and that's where the exchange goes on. But not only do they feed each other, because the tree roots don't just absorb water, they actually produce sugars and push it down into the ground to feed the mycorrhiza. So it's a symbiotic relationship. It's not just leaching off of it. And the mycorrhiza also communicate between trees. So one tree may have too much magnesium, and another one is deficient in manganese. And they'll actually swap and exchange at a microscopic level. So I don't have a problem with keeping stuff close. You can always cut it back later. But it's, they seem happy. I go by the trees. If they're happy, I'm happy. This is a Grumi Chama. Still hasn't really fruited much. Occasionally a piece of fruit or two. But I'm hoping I'll get a lot more because it's a really delicious fruit. It's a Brazilian cherry. I have another one in the backyard. This is a Pakistan mulberry, which you can see I did not prune this year, and it's just crazy. So I really need to whack it back, maybe take the whole thing down to about 6 feet, because it'll grow another 20 feet in the next year. There's another sapodilla, which seems to be a little bit on the slow-growing side. This one's in the ground about 3 years. That's Moreno. Has not fruited yet, but I'm being optimistic. This is a Miwa kumquat. And you can see they're just starting to ripen up. This thing produces fruit all year round. And what's unusual about the Miwa kumquat is that the skin and the interior is sweet. All the other ones, like most of the Japanese varieties, the skin is good, but the inside's really sour. This one you can eat the whole thing, except for the seeds. This is a Subel Mandarin orange. It's developed by Brightleaf Nurseries, and it's supposed to be greening resistant, and it's on greening resistant dwarf stock as well. So we shall see.
So how often do you...
bought had to pay for a what do you call it? Like a license fee, a top of the fee.
So how often are you watering these?
I don't.
You don't water these, okay.
Don't water them. Unless they really look like they're half dead, then I'll rig a hose out. But, it's picking up a little bit of water. You'll see that the way I have this set up, there's a reason for these islands where they are. Because all the water flow, the excess water flow off of my roof, I built a drainage canal that runs along the side. So when we get heavy rains and it flows off the house, the overflow, it kind of waters this as well. And this mulch is at least 6 inches deep. So it really, even though it looks bone dry on the surface, you dig down 4 inches and it's wet. So the roots are happy. You can see when they're dried out, these leaves will be all droopy. We might have a few in the back. That's another sugar apple. And this is a pomelo. Hirado, which is Japanese pomelo. Hasn't fruited yet. It's getting chewed up by some kind of bug. And if you look at the bugs on the underneath, it's not the milky spores and stuff. It's not the sucking ones. They're actually little eggs of some tiny moth. And when I look at the white and I actually examine them, all the white stuff is dead. So it laid its eggs, but some natural bacteria or something in the air, bacteria, fungus, whatever it was, killed it. So I don't need to spray anything, because whatever that white crap is, it'll wash off a couple more rains.
Sure.
And it's not hurting.
And there's a pomegranate.
This is a pomegranate. This is the Vietnamese variety.
Okay.
If your space is limited, I would not recommend them. They, it takes up a lot of space. It's a pretty tree, but only get like 2 or 3 fruit at a time, and they're nowhere near as good as the Palm Wonderful variety you get from California.
And what's that?
That is another variety of mulberry. I got mulberries all over the place.
Okay, mulberries all over. All right.
Oh yeah, you'll see dozens of them. Here's another soursop seedling from one of mine.
Okay.
I kind of put it in this crappy spot that's all in the shade. But it seems to be okay, and we'll see. I think it might even make some fruit this year. Who knows? These are some more banana varieties. I think one's a Brazilian and one's a double Mahoy. Again, a crappy spot, not enough sun. You can see they're producing some fruit. Nothing to write home about.
Yes.
But interesting taste.
Alrighty. So that's his little new experimental area of his planting some trees real close.
Now I'll take you for a loop around the front.
Now we're going to get to see some of his mango trees, and we'll get an update on how they've
My
done.
forest. You'll see different areas. I try to do a different landscaping kind of a look. I mix it like this is a traditional, regular lawn
Now
kind
show
of
us
area.
what's this tree.
This is it's called the screw pine. It's a decorative tree. I have 2 varieties. I didn't even know there were hundreds of them. I have another one in the front that looks almost the same, but it's really not.
But they're not
the leaves are
edible.
different.
They're not edible.
They're not edible. You can chew on the inside. It tastes like wooden pineapple. Like
Okay.
chunks of pineapple dipped in wood. I would not recommend it. Talk about food you don't want to eat, but it's cool to look at. This is my noni tree, N-O-N-I. This is a big medicinal herb. It's from Tahiti. And these are the fruits. As you can see, they fall off. And if you even look at them closely, you'll see they even look like a mulberry. They're in the mulberry family.
Yeah, they
Looks
smell
like a giant
terrible,
mulberry.
and they
They
taste
smell terrible. Oh,
Yeah. Oh,
like blue cheese and rotten socks.
yeah.
Gym socks mixed with loose
Not good at all.
cheese and fermented vomit, I think. There's a canistel trompo.
Okay.
And again, the same thing. You can have the same tree from the same orchard, and depending on where you put it in your yard, this one, not doing too great. You'll see I have one in the yard that's about the same age and it's 3 times the size. That's a Ross sapote, which is supposed to taste better than canistel. None of these have fruited yet. They're young. You can see I'm trying to use up a lot of the space. So I got grapevines running along here. That's Southern Home, which is a muscadine, and I do get grapes out of it. Not a lot, but I walk around the yard and I pick them off and eat them as I go. This was a fun one for tea. It's a cinnamon tree.
Cinnamon. All right.
Cinnamon tree.
The leaves smell like cinnamon, right?
And if you crunch the leaf up,
There you go. Yep.
smells like cinnamon. That's a Peruvian guava. I've had very little luck with guavas. They don't seem to like my property. I think they're susceptible to root knot nematodes, like figs. And most of the varieties do not do good in the ground. They're in there a year or 2, and then they just seem weaker and weaker and weaker, and until I get disgusted and pull them out. Another sugar apple. Another baby soursop I just put in a few months ago from the seedling.
Okay.
From one of my trees. Some raspberry bushes.
Raspberry bushes. Got
Yeah,
banana
very
there.
nice. This is Ilocanis, which is a Philippine variety of banana. This is courtesy of Leaf. Leaf Michelson from West Palm, for those who don't know him. This is more my food foresty area for those people who are into getting food out of every possible square inch. This is lemongrass. Very nice to add to your tea. Quite delicious. Smells
Smells
wonderful.
great, yeah.
Yeah. And we have another avocado right next to it. That's a Catalina,
Okay.
which is a California kind of variety.
Cuban one, yes.
It's just slowly, finally taking off. Not in a good spot. It doesn't get much sun, but it's going to recover. This is cathedral bells, which is another medicinal plant. I'm not sure what the heck it's used for, whether it's for high blood pressure or sugar. I got it as a cutting from one of my neighbors, and so I stuck it in here and it's taken off. Talk about the food foresty thing. Some more blackberries coming up. This is some cuttings from the other one. And you see all this stuff that's in all this ground cover? That's longevity spinach.
Nice.
So you got a ton of food stuff to eat when there's nothing on the food. There's a Kira star fruit, carandola. And to me, this makes the most delicious ones.
None there now?
Nothing right now in this one. The other one's loaded. But if you see, these don't take a long break. See all the flowers?
Yes.
Look at all the flowers pushing. 1 month it'll be loaded with fruit. It only takes a month from flower to fruit. Here's another one that just popped up. And you can see a rather large tree over there.
What's that?
That's a mango, and that's I have a couple other varieties grafted onto it as well. So that's peach cobbler, but I have grafted onto it. I don't remember. St. Maui and buttercream.
Well, how did the tree do this year?
I had some fruit, not a terrific amount.
Okay.
You know, there's a lot of talk about tipping it in order to get it to branch, and I'm the other school of letting the tree do its own thing. If you look at these top branches, I didn't tip any of that. It tipped it on itself, and it's sending out multiple branches, and I'll have a ton of fruit this year without my messing with it. And for sure, my pruning it is not going to affect the fruiting next year because I didn't prune it.
Sure.
So yeah, they're up there, but guess what? I show you my collection of bamboo. I got 25-foot bamboo poles and a picker. And you know, I can pick them out of the tree real easy. It's not a problem. This is one of my seedling mangoes. I'm doing some experiments with seedling mangoes. And what I'm trying to do is develop disease-resistant varieties. So I had like at least 50 different seedlings. And I usually use the polyembryonic seeds, which means you'll get the original one plus a new variety. And usually with the polyembryonic as opposed to the monoembryonic, the polys may send a 4 or 5 of the original tree and only 1 of the new one. And usually the one that comes up of the new one is very weak and scrawny, and you can tell right away it's not the same as the other trees. And you yank that out. So if you see, no fertilizer, no nothing, just stuck it in the ground, and you can see very, very hardy, no problems with leaves, anything else. This is going to be a great variety. Worst comes to worst, the mangoes aren't good. I can always graft something onto it. But
Absolutely.
to get that healthiness, that vigor, that's what I'm looking for.
And of course, his wonderful neighbors decided to do the lawnmower when we were here.
What are you going to do? He's a obsessive yard guy. I mean, I never saw anybody mow his lawn 3 or 4 times a week. I'm lucky I do it once every 2 weeks. But he doesn't have a single edible plant on his property, but he's got nothing but lawn. So you can see some of these I grafted on and some didn't take. Here's one that did not take. You can still see the tape
Sure.
on. This one did not take. And you can see, you know, cotton candy and cocktail tree. And a couple of them that did take.
Cotton candy, and then here you have
That's a strawberry.
chucking on.
These are 2,
Okay.
this is Namdak Mai, number 4.
Strawberry fruit over there.
Strawberry fruit,
There's a
Mantingia
Namdak-
calabura.
Namduk mine number 4 here.
Yeah. And another Namdak Poi. Same thing. I did not
Okay.
prune that. And take a look at the top.
Yeah.
With no pruning, it's sending a ton of branches. And that's where the mangoes will be next year. On
Sure.
those new branches. So if you cut all of that stuff off, you have a beautiful tree, perfectly shaped. You know, like a landscaping, gorgeous thing, and no fruit. So
What's this?
this is Pickering.
Pickering.
I have 2 Pickering. I like it because it stays small and it's manageable and it's very hardy. And you can see the leaves. They don't get
Now
any
you
kind of
had, if I
resistance.
remember correctly, 2 pickering that you planted next to each other at the same time.
That's the Namdak Mines.
The Namdak Mines.
These two were planted at the same
Wait,
time.
let me get here and get this picture because this is so he planted that
These
one
two.
and that one at the same time,
Right.
and this one he took the fruit off. That one he left it on. I mean,
And
that one he
it's
didn't
double
take
the
it off.
size.
The one that he took it off is double the size.
No, the one that I didn't touch is double the size. The one I let have fruit, it stunted it.
Got
It's
you, got
recovering now, but it
Got
took
you.
3 years.
you. Yes.
It took 3 years, and now you can see it's pushing like crazy again. But this is how it should have pushed last year.
But they caught up eventually, pretty much.
Yeah, but you still.
Now, what's that green thing on there? Oh, that's just the leaf. Okay.
Yeah, it's just the new leaves pushing.
All righty. What's that one?
It'll come back in a second. I got so many. It's hard to sweet tart.
Sweet tart. Okay.
It's supposed to be delicious, very slow growing.
And there's an avocado.
This is Utuardo avocados, and the tree has a lot of avocados on it.
Oh wow.
Closely.
Okay. This is supposed to be a dwarf one, and looks loaded with avocados.
It's absolutely loaded.
How
I
do
don't
they
prune.
taste?
They're delicious, and they're getting bigger. It's quite a few. This tree had, I don't know, at least 50 little ones. And people say, "Oh, thin them, you know, you'll get that." I said, "No, the tree will do it on its own," and it did.
Sure.
The tree got rid of 90% of it, kept maybe a dozen or so of perfect, huge, gorgeous ones, and the trees know better than us. We'll come around to the side yard.
How much property do you have here?
This is 1.3 acres.
1.3 acres.
For
Okay.
those who are not familiar with that size, picture a football field plus both end zones. That's
Okay.
1.3. Football plus both end zones.
120 yards.
Yeah, about that.
Okay.
So this is a Graham mango.
How'd that do
This
this
is a
year?
West Indian, did very good, and I love this fruit. Absolutely delicious.
Yes.
The West Indian variety had kind of a spiciness to it, which I like. And you can see along with the grapes, I got Seminole pumpkins popping up everywhere.
Wow.
So the Seminole
Very good.
pumpkin, for those of you who don't know, is a native pumpkin for South Florida. It grows wild, and you can actually grow it in, it grows in like Riverbend Park, and the deer and
They're all over.
stuff eats it. But they're good because it's a winter squash, and it'll store for like 8 months. It tastes like acorn squash or butternut, or a cross between the two. This is my Atamoya selection.
His Atamoya selection.
Atamoyas. That's different than sugar apples, and much better tasting actually. They're all delicious though. So this one is Lisa. And this one, let me take a look at it. Look at this baby over here.
Nice.
Now, if you notice closely, you'll see that in between, it hasn't changed color much. The lines between it will start to change color, and it'll get soft, and it'll be ready to eat.
What kind is that?
This one is a Priestley, I believe.
Priestley. Okay.
Excuse me, this one's Pet Pak Chang.
Pet Pak Chang.
Pet Pak Chang.
And here's the Priestley.
This is the Priestley.
Yes.
And next we're going to have African Pride. Another one back here.
Okay.
So these are just starting.
So 3
Another
or 4
year they'll be loaded
Atamoya.
with fruit.
Okay.
Usually it's about 3 years in the ground. And you can see I got more
Pumpkins
Seminole
everywhere.
Pumpkins everywhere, popping up everywhere. And more grapes. And I found with the squash, the pumpkins, they do better in the shade. They don't like the full sun. So if you got a damp, dark area like this, or get some shade from the trees, let it go.
This is a star apple?
This is another sugar apple.
Sugar apple. Okay.
I got this one from Kathy Gutierrez at Jack and Jill
Oh, yes.
Nursery.
Yes.
Here's another seedling one I just put in, another
Okay.
mulberry. And here's some of my loquat collections. I got about 6 different varieties plus some seedling varieties.
6 different loquats.
This is Big Jim,
Big
which is
Jim.
supposed to be very large fruit, and that's kind of why I got that variety. This one's Oliver, which is my best tasting one, and if you notice, it's flowering already.
Wow.
It's a weird year because this should not be flowering this early. You know, the earliest one of these is ready in December, and from flowering it's only about a month. So these will be ready in November, or maybe even October. Same thing on this variety. Flowering, way early. And that, no fertilizer, no water.
And how long have these trees been in the ground here?
3 years.
3 years. Look at these. In 3 years he got this collection.
Almost all of these were bought as 3-gallon sized trees. You know, little tiny things. I've had better luck planting younger trees than big, you know, everyone's in a rush, so they want to put 7-gallon, 15-gallon in. And, you know, the trees go through more of a shock because they're older, they don't adapt as well. And somehow, if you put a 3-gallon in and a 7-gallon next to each other, 2 years from now, they're going to be the same size.
Yeah.
And the 3-gallon might even be healthier. So, something to think about. The size is another loquat variety. This one's called Gold Nugget. And again, the same thing, it varies based on where you grow them. This is my smallest fruit. They're tiny little things, and not much bigger than that. But Shuja Haki, who's also on a lot of the fruit farms, he grows this variety, and he's only in Vero Beach, I think. And with him, this is his largest fruit in the same variety. This is Carrie, which had a very weird year for mangoes. It was pushing out flowers, it was pushing out growth, it was pushing out fruit, it was pushing out flowers and growth on the same branches, mixed blooms. It was dropping leaves, spreading it. It just went bananas. It's just on its own calendar. I did get some fruit from it. Disappointing, not very much. Maybe it doesn't. They were delicious. But the year before, I got, you know, probably 30 or 40 mangoes on it. Here we go. Here's another mango. This is Cogs Hall.
Okay.
Which is actually named after a location, Cogs Hall. I don't know where that is. Very, very slow growing tree like a dwarf. But I needed something that's not going to get too big on this spot, so that's why I went with that variety. This one's Angie.
Beautiful looking Angie.
Which is actually
here.
a daughter of Carrie.
Yeah, looking beautiful.
And it's doing very, very well. Produced a decent amount of fruit last year. But, you know, this year was not a good year for it. I'm hoping next year it'll really take off. You can see there's a lot of new growth.
And again, just mulch under there, no water.
Tons of mulch. And if you look at this mulch, I just have to go like this. And you see it gets darker and darker and darker as you get down, and then it's wet. Damp. So it's doing the job. Some more sugar apples. Another Pakistan mulberry.
Sugar apple mulberry.
Yeah. This one's called Orange Essence.
Orange Essence.
When I bought it, it was because I really wanted an orange sherbet and I couldn't find one. And I figured this is close enough. Very, very slow growing tree. 3 years in the ground, hardly doing anything. But this year, finally pushing. I'd say that's a nice growth. So maybe this year I'll get some fruit out of it. This is my newest jackfruit.
Oh, wow. Probably the biggest tree in his front yard, but except one of the mangoes.
And if you look down here,
all right, there's some baby
that's quite
jackfruit.
a pair on there.
Yeah, you got some baby jackfruits down there. So this type is Excalibur Red. Okay.
Yeah. This is his new variety that he didn't want to release to the public. We talked about it in the last video. And I managed to get one of his girls who were working for him to hook me up with it.
Okay, I've spoken a lot about the Excalibur Red in my previous videos.
Nice
We won't
variety.
disappoint Jerry yet. I'll tell him about it later.
Another Pakistan mulberry.
Mulberry,
This
banana.
is Dwarf Namwa.
Dwarf Namwa. Okay.
Very delicious banana. I cut out a lot of my bananas. I had so much more because I just think it too much. I can't handle it.
Another
They just
mulberry.
get wasted. Another mulberry.
Banana circle here.
This is not bananas. These are bird of paradise. But
Oh,
this is
okay.
the white variety, which grows very tall.
Non-edible?
Non-edible, not the red one. This was here when I came in. But it gives me
Okay.
some privacy from my neighbors.
So that's
These are
his
some
front
Indian
yard.
bananas. And I always get the names mixed up. One is Rajapuri and the other is Pisang Raja. And I always scramble up the two. This was all a huge banana circle. I tore out most of it.
Yeah, I remember.
And I started some new stuff growing in there. Again, some seedlings. That's a Russell avocado. And those are some mango seedlings from my, my experiments. That seemed okay. There's a new row that wasn't in here when you were here last. Pakistan mulberry. These are Japodicabas, trees from my own growing. I'll show you where I have more of these growing. Sugar apple, Japodicaba. These are the Sabra variety, like this tree.
What's with the CDs on there?
The CDs, when it's windy, reflects light and causes that annoying glare, which keeps the birds off of it.
Okay.
So, it doesn't poison them or anything. It just, they don't like it, so they stay away from it. That's the theory. Here's another sugar apple. Another Japodicaba.
Sugar apple.
I got some more Brazilian rainforest stuff growing on over here. That's the blue Japodicaba, which isn't really a Japodicaba. It's called Vexator. It's related. It's similar tasting fruit. This is a Grimmel Japodicaba. It's supposed to be a very, very good tasting fruit. Kind of young, hasn't produced yet. Another Grumichama. Same situation as the other one. The tree's doing nice, not a lot of fruit. I think these really like a lot of water.
They
I
do.
haven't been giving
They
them
do.
water. So that's probably why. When it gets bigger, I may just throw the hose on it for next year and give it some help. Here we go. That's a Savannah cherry. Doing nice. This is the purple Kaimito. Tree's doing well. Has not fruited yet. That's Abiyu.
Nice. Very nice.
I don't know what variety,
Looking good.
but the tree is doing very, very well. Looking good.
Most likely a seedling.
I don't know. I think it's from leaves, so I don't know if it's a grafted one or not.
There's some peppers.
This is a volunteer. I never planted it, and it just popped up here.
Okay.
And I don't know what kind of pepper it is. They're crazy hot.
They look hot.
And it just popped up here. When it first came up, I had just planted this mulberry from a cutting from one of my trees. And the branch coming up next to it looked very similar. And at first I thought it's just, coming up from the root. It's just more mulberry. And then it got bigger, and I said, no, the leaves are different. This much smaller. And then it started fruiting. Mystery. Some more Japodicabas. This is Australian finger lime. Also called caviar lime. Sometimes people call it that. The inside looked like caviar. I think that's the green one. That's achacharu. Another rainforest tree. Probably take about 3 years. It's doing nicely here. This is a San Pablo custard apple, which looks a little thirsty. But not terrible.
Very nice. Delicious. Delicious.
Yeah, that's San Pablo. And that's Rulinia deliciosa.
Nice. Two of my favorite fruits.
So this is the newest section I added.
Very nice.
And you can see I put a lot of mulch down to keep it wet.
So here's your star fruit that's fruiting.
Yeah.
Which star fruit is this?
This is Kira. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
no, this is Kira.
The one I have. Kerry, right?
Yeah.
He calls it Kira. Or
Right.
Kerry.
The other one is Flang Tongue. I had mixed up.
That's big. That tree
It's
is big.
huge. If you go underneath it, you'll see how crazy big it is.
Wow. And all
And you
those
can
are
just
seedlings
see-
there?
How much fruit it produces.
Are all seedlings, all those?
This is how it was when I came here.
Wow. Wow.
So I don't know. When you were out last time, you suggested I trim back some of my longan to get me some more sun on this mamey, and I did. And now I'm getting fruit out of this mamey. Haven't tasted it yet, but you can see it's popping out fruit.
Very nice. Very nice.
So it's saying thank you to Paul for suggesting giving it some more light.
Of all the trees in Mamey, yes, you're welcome, Mamey.
This is a longan tree. Last year I had hundreds of pounds of fruit, and this year nothing. Same thing, alternate bearing.
Wow.
This is the first time it skipped a year. Unlike lychee, which is much more temperamental, the longans don't seem as temperamental. But this year, there's a wipeout.
And that was here when you came here, right?
Yeah. This was. Here's some more bananas from Leaf. And you can see they're fruiting. I think they're also ilicanas. I got something buried in there. That's what's stinking. I got to put more sand in. So you can see where the pumpkins are in the sun, they don't do well. Too much sun. We have them under the shade, under the other trees, they do great. So these guys just grow and they flower, but they don't produce. That's a peanut butter plant. That's cassava. Ambarella or June plum. Thai mulberry. This is Jack Sandquist's jackfruit.
Wow.
I bought this from him as a 2-foot tall tree 3 years ago at the Palm Beach Gardens Green Market. For $8, it was this big, this little seedling. And look at this thing. It's like
Have you gotten
25
anything
feet
on
tall.
there?
Not yet. But it's only 3 years old, and it's
Okay.
like 25 feet tall. The tree is very vigorous and very healthy, so I'm hoping it's going to start producing soon.
Now, I don't personally, for tips for everybody that's watching, you see this jackfruit, I don't recommend letting the jackfruit grow this high.
Well,
The reason being, in my
how are you
opinion,
going to get
is
the fruit?
50-pound fruit up there is not easy to get down.
Well, the only other thing is, if you notice behind, I have all tall trees behind, blocking the sun. And so that's my southern exposure. So that's why I let it go crazy high, because it's the only way it clears the other trees to get full sun.
Sure.
And most of the jackfruit seems to be bearing the fruit at a much lower height. Like that one's like, they're on the ground.
Yeah.
It's a big tree, but they're on the ground.
Yeah.
So I'm going to wait and see.
Okay.
But I don't want to whack it and not have fruit.
Yes.
There's a novelty item. It's a macadamia nut.
Okay.
And it does produce nuts, even at this size. And, of course, the squirrels love them. So I've never gotten to eat them because the squirrels grab them before me. This is a wax jambu,
Okay.
which everyone tells me is supposed to have a ton of fruit. I've never gotten a single piece of fruit.
Well, you will. You will.
So it's 3 years old, but it's
You will.
taking over. And of course, for the food forest guys, you gotta have some moringa
Got to have moringa. Best tree in the yard.
and some more mulberries.
More mulberries.
And more mulberries.
Now, do you sell your fruit or do you plan to, or what do you plan on doing with all this fruit?
Giving away.
Okay.
I mostly give stuff away. We'll see how much comes out. So here's some other, new seedlings I just put in from my mango experiments, just to see if it's a hardy and it's nice leaves. I put them in there. This is Oro or Aurea canistel,
Okay.
and that's another canistel. This is Trompo, which is probably the more common one,
Yep.
and that's another longan seedling from my other tree. I did an air graft. It's not a seedling, excuse me, an air graft. Air layer
Earlier.
from my big trees. And this is a Thomas sapodilla from Alex Salazar's yard. He grows this tree. They're huge trees. They produce big, big, big fruit. So I bought some fruit from him last year, ate the fruit and saved the seeds and planted them.
Wow.
Very vigorous.
1 year. Wow.
1 year. Very vigorous. Incredible.
Very nice. Everything's looking great over here.
Yeah. A couple more things over here. Not much going on this side. So I try to experiment with some different stuff. So this is another, loquat. This was a seedling from one of my trees. But we'll see if it's any good. If it stays, if it's not. This is katuk.
Oh, wonderful.
And you can see that it's flowering
Yes,
already.
yes, I love Katuk.
It's going to start sending out some seeds soon. The seeds taste like peas.
Yeah.
I like them. They're crunchy.
What about this?
Oh, I got this.
Okay.
This, my one dead coconut. I got 12 live coconut trees. This one, the top blew off in the last storm.
Oh.
So I planted passion fruit underneath it, and that'll grow up there.
Dragon fruit as well.
Yeah. So the passion, I have some dragon fruit in the front yard. The passion fruit will
Start raining.
drop off the vine when it's ripe, so it doesn't matter if it's 50 feet in the air. And
Yeah.
Pretty tough. They won't bruise up. This is Marcus pumpkin.
Okay, super big avocado.
Super, super, super big, like a pumpkin size. Because of that, it's a slow-growing tree, and it's a big tree. So it hasn't produced yet. It's 3 years in the ground. But I'm being optimistic about it. You can see I use this little area to start some plants. Because I find that putting stuff in the ground doesn't work as well here. I got too much rabbit problems. So like here's some just baby Seminole pumpkins. And they get a little bit bigger, I'll plant them. Now these are also from my yard. Seedlings I'm growing out. These are going to be for sale.
Jabacabas. Yeah.
From seed.
Very
really
nice.
Sabra Jabotacaba. Of course they'll be years before they fruit. Here's some new ones coming up. This is Sabra also. And you can see some of the seedlings look like this. Random seedlings. Obviously, this ain't going to cut it in my beauty show, you know, of what I like. Whereas something like this is pushing out nice and healthy. So this seedling I might have an interest in growing. That one, nope, ain't going to make it.
Very nice.
This is some coconut biochar, which I have to work into the ground. I just dumped it.
Would you burn it?
Yeah, slow smoked it.
Okay.
So here's another avocado that's doing very, very nicely. That's that Thompson.
Thompson Red. Thompson Red, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I got this from AK Caribbean Nurseries. We used to also sell at the Palm Beach Gardens Market.
Yes.
He doesn't do it anymore. That's a banana that from my Pisang Raja, the giant one. I might
Miracle
sell it
fruit.
or give it away because I really don't need it. You know, I just figured I'd save one of the pups from that variety because I pulled them all out.
Yep.
Miracle berry.
Yep.
This is a thirsty plant. It likes water or you're not going to get fruit. So I have a hose here, like some of these some stuff hit, especially the stuff in the containers.
Yeah, here's all your figs.
Yeah. And you see they're all off the ground because we have nematodes here in the ground. This is another variety of pomegranate. This is Parfianka. I believe that's the Russian variety. More figs, 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 figs. White sapote. This is Redlands at a homestead. I just started getting into the white sapote. I got a couple of them. Some more figs, 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 figs. Sugar apple. That's another white sapote. This variety is Subel. Well, excuse me, no, this is University of Florida.
Okay.
This is the Subel. And the same thing. You see how it's leaning like this? A lot of people tell you, oh, no, you got to stake it up, get 3 poles, tie it up, make a whole frame for it, you know. No. It's leaning this way because it needs the sun in this direction. It was planted a little bit too shady here, and so it's growing towards the sun. So I'm not going to fight it. Let it grow cockeyed. I don't care. It'll produce fruit. It won't fall over. It'll be fine. And it'll be healthier and happier because it's going where the sun is, and it knows better than me where to prune it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'd be tying this up and, you know, trying to force it to grow straight. It doesn't need it. Same thing. This is Densler. Another variety of white sapote. Which I have, of course, you know, these are young trees, so I haven't tasted them yet.
Very nice. Well, this is wonderful here. This is great. Everybody, I'm going to put Jerry's contact information below if you want to contact him on his Facebook page if you have any
Yeah, you can do
questions,
that.
but I'm also going to put a link to the video I did with him last time
You can
here.
also post questions on the video, and I'll answer.
Under the video is the best place, yes. Thank
I'll
you
answer
for
them as best
showing
I
us
can.
an update here in the yard.
My pleasure.
All right, everybody, there it was. I told you this is just great to get updates on all the different yards I go and visit. Jerry's a wonderful person, and his trees that he's growing, his strategy behind it is so unique, and that's what we need. We need to experiment. That's how we learn, and that's how we grow on every level. And that's what Jerry's doing here. And I'm sorry I missed the fruit season when he had some fruit, but I know he's going to get a lot of fruit in the future, and I'll be back here and showing you when these trees are actually fruiting. But the yard is just amazing. He's in between some taller trees here that are shading out some of his other trees. But as you see, the trees that have been here a long time are doing great. And when these trees are here a long time, they're going to do great as well. So thank you, Jerry, for having us, everybody. Keep growing.